You ever notice when life gets tough, when the walls start closing in, when everything you thought you could depend on slips right through your hands? Some people break, but others, they fall to their knees. They bow, they pray. Now, some folks might ask, why? Why keep praying when nothing seems to change? Why keep bowing when life keeps breaking? Let me tell you why. Because prayer isn't about escaping reality. Prayer is about facing it with strength you don't have on your own. It's about plugging into something bigger than yourself when your power has run dry. See, when life falls apart, the world tells you to give up. Prayer tells you to stand up. The world tells you it's over. Prayer whispers, no, it's not. And maybe you're sitting here tonight, wrestling with your own storm, holding on by a thread. I want you to hear me. That prayer you think is small, that whispered, God help me, it's carrying more weight than you know. So let's walk through this together. Let's dig into why Muslims keep praying, even when everything else is shattered. You see, when people look at prayer in hard times, some think it's a sign of weakness. They think bowing down means you gave up, that somehow you surrendered to the problem, like you quit the fight. But let me tell you something, prayer is surrender, yes, but it is not defeat. There's a difference. When you surrender in prayer, you're not throwing in the towel. You're passing the weight to the only one strong enough to carry it. Think about it. All of us have had moments where the burden got too heavy, where you lay awake at night staring at the ceiling, wondering how in the world you're supposed to get through tomorrow. Maybe it's the bills piling up. Maybe it's a diagnosis you never saw coming. Maybe it's heartbreak that cut deeper than you ever thought you could survive. And in that moment, the human instinct is to say, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. But the prayerful heart says, I can't do this anymore, but God can. That's the difference. That's not defeat. That's strategy. That's wisdom. Because if the bridge in front of you is broken, you don't keep trying to drive across it and crash again and again. You look for a way to get across safely. Prayer is that way. It's surrendering the steering wheel to the one who already knows the road ahead. You ever notice how heavy life feels when you try to carry it all by yourself? Like you're walking around with weights strapped to your back, and every step takes everything out of you. But prayer, it's like taking that weight off your shoulders. It's saying, this load is too much for me. Here, you take it. And the moment you do that, you can breathe again. You can stand up straighter. And no, maybe the problem isn't gone yet, but you're no longer crushed beneath it. Now here's what's powerful when someone looks at you in that moment, they might not understand. They might say, how can you still bow? How can you still pray when nothing seems to change? But what they don't realize is that the act of bowing itself is the victory. It's the declaration that life can break you down, but it cannot take away your faith. See, defeat is when you let the storm silence your voice. Surrender in prayer is when you hand the storm over to the one who controls the thunder. Defeat is when you collapse and never rise again. Surrender in prayer is when you collapse, yes, but you fall to your knees, and from there you find the strength to rise. Let me paint this for you. Imagine a soldier on the battlefield surrounded, outnumbered, out of weapons. If he throws down his armor, lifts his hands to the enemy, that's defeat. But if he drops to his knees before his commander, radioing in for strength, guidance, and reinforcements, that's not defeat. That's strategy. That's how you survive the impossible. That's prayer. And maybe that's where you are right now. Maybe you're holding on to pieces of a life that feels shattered. Maybe you've been pretending you can do it all on your own, smiling in front of people, but crying when nobody's watching. And maybe tonight is the night you realize it's not about pretending to be strong. It's about knowing who to lean on when you're weak. Prayer is not about you being perfect. It's not about you having it all figured out. It's not about you always knowing the right words. It's about being humble enough to say, I can't do this alone. That's the real power. Because when you surrender in prayer, you're no longer fighting for victory. You're fighting from victory. You're standing with the one who already wrote the ending. And guess what? The ending is not defeat. I want you to think about this. The strongest moments of your life will not be when you stood tall in your own power. The strongest moments will be when you fell to your knees and found a strength that wasn't yours. That's when the shift happens. That's when the impossible starts to feel possible. So don't confuse prayer with quitting. Don't confuse surrender with defeat. The very act of bowing your head is a sign that you still believe, even when life is trying to convince you not to. It's proof that you've still got hope, still got faith, still got fire left inside you. Now let me ask you, when life knocks you down, are you staying down, or are you going to use that position to pray, to surrender, to rise again stronger? That's the choice. That's the moment that defines everything. When life falls apart, it feels like chaos. You know what I mean? Everything's moving at once, nothing makes sense. And no matter how hard you try to put the pieces back together, they just keep slipping out of place. Your mind is racing, your heart is heavy, and your soul feels like it's drowning in noise. That's what chaos is. It's the storm inside and outside of you, spinning so fast that you can't even find your footing. And this is where prayer shows its true power, because prayer doesn't just stop the storm outside. Sometimes it doesn't touch the storm outside at all, but it gives you order in the middle of the chaos. Think about it 5 times a day. No matter what's happening in your life, the call to prayer goes out. It doesn't ask if you're happy. It doesn't wait until you've got life figured out. It doesn't depend on whether you're winning or losing. It comes at dawn, it comes at midday, it comes at afternoon, evening, and night. It's constant, it's steady. And in a world where everything else is shaking, those moments of prayer are like anchors in a storm. You see, when life is falling apart, we start to feel like nothing is stable. One phone call can change everything. One bill can wreck your plans. One word from somebody you love can break your heart. It feels like life is out of your hands, and that's true. But prayer steps in and says, here is something you can hold on to. You might not be able to control the storm, but you can control whether or not you answer that call, whether or not you bow, whether or not you connect. And there's something powerful in that discipline. Because chaos tells you everything is random, nothing matters. But every time you stop what you're doing, wash, and stand in prayer, you're declaring, no, life is not random. My pain is not wasted. My struggle is not meaningless. There is order, there is rhythm, there is purpose. And that declaration alone, that's power. I want you to imagine this for a moment. Imagine someone whose life is falling apart. They just lost their job. Their family's drifting apart. They're carrying shame, guilt, regret. On the outside, they look broken. But then, as the world spins, they hear the call to prayer. And in that moment, they put everything down. They wash, they stand, they bow, they whisper, God, guide me. From the outside, it might not look like much. But what's happening inside? The storm is meeting an anchor. The chaos is meeting order. Their soul finds a place to breathe. Prayer is not just routine. It's alignment. It aligns your heart when your feelings are scattered. It aligns your mind when your thoughts are all over the place. It aligns your soul when life tries to pull it apart. And it does this through rhythm, 5 moments every single day, reminding you that there is still structure when life feels unstructured. That no matter what breaks, this is unbroken. And that discipline, that order, is what saves people. Because without it, the chaos will swallow you whole. Without it, your mind will run wild, your heart will collapse under the pressure, and your soul will forget it was created for more than this temporary struggle. But when you pray, you don't just calm down, you realign, you lock into something greater. Now, don't misunderstand me. Prayer doesn't erase chaos, but it keeps you from drowning in it. It gives you a rhythm that reminds you, this world is loud, but I know a voice that is louder. This life is unpredictable, but I know a Lord who is unchanging. This moment hurts, but my purpose is bigger than this pain. That is what prayer says, and that's why it matters most when everything else is falling apart. So many people in life run to distractions when chaos hits. They numb themselves with noise, with addictions, with running away. But that never brings peace. It just delays the storm. Prayer doesn't delay it. Prayer steadies you through it. It tells the chaos, you will not own me. You will not define me. And let me tell you something. The world respects that. People may not understand why you pray, but they will see the strength it gives you. They will see how in the middle of your pain, you've still got balance, you've still got clarity, you've still got hope. And one day that same person who questioned you will come and ask, how are you standing when everything around you is broken? And your answer will be simple, because I prayed. That's the power of order in chaos. That's the beauty of prayer. It's not escape. It's stability. It's not running. It's standing. And when life tries to convince you that you've lost all control, prayer whispers back, no, you've still got a choice. You've still got an anchor. You've still got hope. So let me ask you, when chaos comes knocking, and it will you let it spin you out of control? Or will you be the one who finds order, who finds peace, who finds God in the middle of it all? That choice, that prayer, that discipline could be the very thing that saves your life. You know, when life hits hard, when problems stack up one after another, it's so easy to let the storm consume all of your attention. You wake up thinking about the problem, you go to sleep thinking about the problem, you carry it with you in every conversation, every moment, like a shadow you can't shake. That's what pain does. It steals your focus. It blinds you to everything else until all you can see is the storm right in front of you. But here's the beauty of prayer. Prayer shifts your focus. It doesn't pretend the storm isn't real. It doesn't erase the hardship. What it does is lift your eyes away from the problem, away from the chaos, and fix them on the one who can calm it all. Think about it. You've seen people drowning in stress, drowning in worry, drowning in fear. Their minds are trapped in a loop. What if this happens? What if that doesn't work? What if it all falls apart? And that loop just keeps spinning tighter and tighter until they can't breathe. But when you stand in prayer, when you bow, when you whisper those words, suddenly the loop breaks. Suddenly, your eyes are no longer locked on what you can't control. They're lifted toward the one who controls it all. It's like this. If you stare at the waves, you'll feel like you're drowning. If you stare at the storm, you'll feel like it's too big. But when you turn your gaze upward, when you focus on the Creator instead of the chaos, the storm may still rage, but it no longer owns you. That's what prayer does. It redirects your vision. It teaches you to look higher than the problem. And here's what's powerful: your focus determines your strength. If all you ever focus on is the problem, you'll feel powerless. But if you focus on the source of power, you'll find strength you didn't know you had. That's why prayer is not just words, it's perspective. It's a shift in the way you see your life, your struggle, your situation. Now, I know somebody is thinking, but my problem is real. My pain is real. And you're right, it is real. Nobody's saying it's not. But so is your God, so is His mercy, so is His power. And the problem with focusing only on the struggle is that it makes the struggle feel bigger than the one who can carry it. Prayer balances that. It reminds you of the truth, that no matter how real the pain is, God is greater. I want you to imagine this. You're sitting in a dark room, no light, no window, no way out. You're panicking because all you see is the darkness pressing in on you. But then someone opens a door and suddenly light pours in. Did the darkness disappear? Not immediately. But your focus shifted. You no longer saw only the dark, you saw the light. And just that shift changes everything. That's what prayer does to the soul. It opens the door, it lets light in where there was only darkness before. And the truth is, most of the battles we fight are battles of focus. Will I give all my attention to fear, or will I choose to focus on faith? Will I drown in what I can't control, or will I look toward the one who controls it all? Prayer is the decision to lift your eyes. Prayer is the choice to see beyond the storm. And let me tell you, this shift can be the difference between despair and hope, between giving up and holding on. Because the problem may still be there when you rise from prayer, but the way you see it has changed. And when your vision changes, your strength changes. When your focus shifts, your future shifts. That's why Muslims keep praying even when life falls apart. Because in prayer, they refuse to let the storm be the only thing they see. They choose to look higher, deeper, beyond the pain. They choose to fix their focus on God, and that choice transforms everything. So let me ask you, what's your focus right now? Is it the weight of the storm, or is it the one who holds the storm in his hands? Because the truth is, you cannot always change what you face, but you can change how you face it. And prayer is how you lift your eyes, shift your vision, and find the strength to walk through the storm without losing yourself. Because at the end of the day, the storm doesn't get the last word. Your focus does. Every time you get up, wash, bow, and pray, even when your heart is heavy and your mind is scattered, you are building something inside of you that the world can't take away. You're building resilience. And let me tell you, resilience doesn't come from the easy days. It doesn't grow when everything's going your way. It's forged in the fire, shaped in the storm, strengthened in the nights when you cry and still choose to bow. See, life will try to break you down. And sometimes it feels like it succeeds. You get hit with loss, disappointment, betrayal, failure, one thing after another. You start thinking, I don't know how much more I can take. But then you still rise for prayer. Maybe your body is heavy, maybe your soul feels crushed, but you rise anyway. And that act right there, that discipline, is how resilience is born. Because every time you choose to pray through pain, you are training your soul to endure. Resilience is not about pretending the pain doesn't hurt. It's about refusing to let the pain define you. And prayer is where that strength is cultivated. It's where you learn that even in your weakness, you can still stand. Even when life knocks you flat, you can still get back up. I want you to think about this: resilience doesn't shout. It doesn't need an audience. It's quiet. It's that whisper to yourself, I'll keep going. It's that choice to bow when everything in you wants to give up. It's standing tall not because life is easy, but because you've chosen not to break. And prayer 5 times a day gives you that training ground. It gives you a rhythm that teaches you no matter how hard today is, I will still rise tomorrow. It's like a muscle. If you never use it, it stays weak. But when you push it, when you stretch it, when you test it, that's when it grows. And your soul works the same way. When you choose to pray in the middle of heartbreak, when you bow even as the tears fall, when you whisper, God, help me even when you don't feel strong, that's when you're building the muscle of resilience. That's when you're preparing yourself to withstand storms you didn't even know were coming. And here's the truth: life will test you. There's no avoiding that. But prayer prepares you. Prayer trains you to bend without breaking, to stumble without staying down, to cry without losing hope. It shapes you into someone who can take the hits of life and still keep moving forward. Now, resilience doesn't mean you don't feel the pain. Resilience means you keep walking with the pain. You keep breathing through the hurt. You keep standing even while you're shaking. And every prayer you make in those moments is like a brick, one after another, building a foundation inside of you that nothing can destroy. I want you to picture this: a tree in a storm. The wind is fierce, the rain is pounding, the branches are bending almost to the ground. From the outside, it looks like the tree is about to snap. But it doesn't. Why? Because the roots are deep. The storm doesn't break it because it's anchored. And that's exactly what prayer does for your soul. It plants your roots deep, So when the storms of life come, and they will, you may bend, but you will not break. And let me tell you something powerful. People around you notice that. They may not understand why you pray, but they will see how you survive. They will see how you carry yourself, how you keep showing up, how you still smile even after tears, how you still love after heartbreak. And they will wonder, where does that strength come from? The answer is simple. It's the resilience built through prayer. That's why Muslims keep praying when life falls apart. Because every prayer, no matter how small it feels, is another layer of strength. It's another reminder that you are not defined by your circumstances, but by your response. And your response is not to quit, not to break, not to let despair own you. Your response is to pray, to bow, to rise again. So let me ask you tonight, when life tests you, when the storm hits your door, are you going to let it break you? Or will you rise? Will you bow? Will you keep building the kind of strength the world cannot take away? That choice, that resilience, that prayer may be the very thing that carries you through. One of the biggest misunderstandings people have about prayer is thinking it's some kind of deal. Like if I pray hard enough, God owes me something in return. If I bow long enough, he has to fix my problems. If I say the right words, he's got to answer exactly how I want him to. And when that doesn't happen, when the job doesn't come, when the sickness doesn't leave, when the situation doesn't change, they think prayer didn't work. But that's because they missed the truth. Prayer is not a transaction. Prayer is a connection. When you understand that, everything shifts. You stop approaching prayer like it's a vending machine, press the right button, get the thing you ordered. Instead, you start approaching it like a lifeline, like oxygen, like water for a thirsty soul. Because prayer is not just about changing what's around you. It's about changing what's inside you. Think about any real relationship in your life. A parent with a child, a husband with a wife, a friend with a friend. If the only time you talked to them was when you wanted something, would that relationship be real? No. It would be shallow, one-sided, fragile. A true relationship is built on connection, not conditions. It's built on love, trust, loyalty. That's what prayer is supposed to be. It's not just you asking for things. It's you staying connected to the one who gave you life in the first place. And when life falls apart, that connection matters more than anything. Because if prayer were just about getting what you wanted, then the moment you didn't get it, you'd quit. But when prayer is about relationship, when it's about closeness, you don't stop. Even in the pain, even in the silence, you keep showing up. Because the bond is deeper than the blessing. I want you to picture this. A child sitting on their father's lap, crying because they're hurt. The father may not remove the pain in that moment. He may not fix the problem right away. But what he does give is presence, comfort, love. And sometimes that's more powerful than the fix. Because the child learns, even in my hurt, I'm not alone. That's what prayer gives you. It may not erase the problem, but it reminds you, you are not alone in it. And that presence, that connection, that closeness, it changes you. It gives you strength you didn't think you had. It calms fears that were eating you alive. It fills you with hope when you thought you were empty. And that's when you realize prayer has already worked. Not because the storm disappeared, but because your soul found peace inside the storm. People miss this because they measure prayer by results. But the truth is, prayer is measured by relationship. Did it bring you closer to God? Did it remind you of his presence? Did it strengthen your trust in him? If the answer is yes, then prayer has already succeeded. And you know what's powerful? Sometimes God doesn't change your situation because he's using the situation to change you. Prayer becomes the place where that transformation happens. You bring your fears, your weakness, your doubts, and in that sacred space, he shapes you. He teaches you patience. He builds your faith. He deepens your strength. And when you come out of it, you realize you're not the same person you were when you went in. That's why prayer is not a deal. It's a dialogue. It's not about what you can get. It's about who you become in the process. And let me tell you, that's a connection worth holding on to. Because jobs come and go, money comes and goes, people come and go. But that bond between you and your Creator, that's eternal, that's unbreakable. And maybe right now, you're praying for something you haven't seen yet. Maybe you're wondering if your prayers even matter. I'm here to tell you they do. Every word, every tear, every whisper, it's building that connection. It's drawing you closer. And that closeness is the very thing that will carry you when nothing else can. So don't treat prayer like a transaction, like it's just about what you can get. Treat it like a relationship. Show up when life is good. Show up when life is bad. Show up when you don't have the words. Because the act of showing up, the act of bowing, the act of connecting, that in itself is victory. So let me ask you, are you treating your prayer like a deal or like a connection? Because that answer will determine whether you quit when life doesn't go your way or whether you hold on and find strength that no storm can take from you. You know, one of the things people misunderstand most about prayer is thinking it's supposed to instantly make life better. Like if I pray, the pain should stop. If I bow, the storm should disappear. If I whisper, God help me, then by the time I stand up, the problem should be gone. But life doesn't always work that way. The fire doesn't always go out. The storm doesn't always calm right away. The heartbreak doesn't always vanish in a moment. But here's the truth. Prayer may not take you out of the fire, but it gives you peace inside of it. That's the kind of peace you can't buy, you can't fake, you can't find anywhere else. It's not the peace of everything being perfect. It's the peace of knowing that even in the middle of the heat, you are not alone. Even in the middle of the trial, you are being carried, and that changes how you walk through the fire. Think about it when you're in pain. What makes it unbearable is not just the struggle itself. It's the feeling that you're abandoned in it, that you're left to carry it all alone. But prayer takes that weight off your chest. Prayer whispers to your soul, I am with you. And suddenly, what once felt impossible begins to feel survivable. I want you to picture this. Imagine someone walking through fire barefoot. Every step hurts, every move burns. But then imagine someone taking their hand, walking with them, steadying them, holding them up. The fire is still there. The flames are still real, but the fear changes, the pain shifts, the strength multiplies. That's what prayer does. It doesn't erase the fire, but it changes how you experience it. And that's why people who pray in the hardest times often have a calm that others can't understand. They're still hurting, yes. They're still in the middle of the storm. But they're not broken in the same way because prayer has wrapped them in peace. And that peace is not from themselves. It's from the one who hears them. Now, this doesn't mean you don't feel the weight. It doesn't mean the tears stop falling. It means the tears don't drown you anymore. It means the weight doesn't crush you anymore. It means the fire doesn't consume you anymore. You're walking through it with a strength that doesn't come from you. And that strength, that calm, that peace is the greatest gift prayer gives. Here's the thing, life will always have fires. You can't escape them. The loss, the heartbreak, the disappointments, they come to all of us. But prayer makes sure that the fire doesn't define you. It makes sure that the storm doesn't own you. It makes sure that your story doesn't end in despair, but in resilience. And what's powerful is that this peace shows up when you least expect it. You're crying, you're hurting, you feel like you can't go on, and then you bow, you whisper that prayer, and when you rise, the problem is still there, but your soul feels different. You feel steady, you feel lighter. You feel like somehow, some way you're going to make it. And that is not coincidence. That is connection. That is grace. People might look at you and think, how are you still standing? How are you not losing your mind? How are you walking through this fire and not consumed by it? And your answer is simple, because I prayed. Because prayer gave me peace when nothing else could. Because prayer reminded me that my pain is not the end of my story. And maybe that's where you are right now. Maybe you're in your own fire. Maybe your storm is raging. Maybe you're carrying something so heavy that you don't even know how you got out of bed this morning. I want you to hear this. Your prayer matters. Your whisper matters. Your connection matters. It may not erase the fire, but it will steady you inside of it. It will give you a peace that will carry you through. So don't stop praying because the fire hasn't gone out yet. Don't quit because the storm hasn't ended. Sometimes the miracle is not in the fire disappearing. It's in you walking through it without being destroyed. Sometimes the miracle is not in the storm calming. It's in you finding peace in the middle of the waves. So let me ask you, when the fire comes, when the storm rages, when life feels impossible, will you run from it, or will you bow in prayer and find the peace to walk through it? Because that choice, that prayer, that peace may be the very thing that saves you. So when you look at it all, the surrender, the order, the shift in focus, the resilience, the connection, the peace, you start to understand why Muslims keep praying when life falls apart. It's not about running away from the storm. It's about finding strength to walk through it. It's not about pretending the pain isn't real. It's about knowing there's a greater power holding you steady inside of it. Prayer is more than words, more than rituals, more than routine. It's lifeline, it's anchor, it's fuel for the soul. It keeps you grounded when the world shakes. It keeps you standing when life tries to knock you down. It keeps hope alive when everything around you is screaming to give up. And maybe tonight, this is your reminder. Maybe you've been carrying a weight so heavy you don't even know how you're still standing. Maybe you've been asking why nothing changes, why the storm won't stop. But hear me, your prayer is not wasted. Every bow, every whisper, every tear, it matters. Even if the storm is still raging, something inside of you is being rebuilt. Something unshakable is being formed. So don't stop. Don't quit. Keep praying, keep bowing, keep showing up. Because in the end, the storms of life don't define you. Your faith does. The pain doesn't have the last word. Your perseverance does. And the fire doesn't get to win. Your prayer does. So I'll leave you with this. When life knocks you down, will you stay down, or will you fall to your knees and rise stronger than before?